Hi guys, so today's video is gonna be a foundation first impression. This is gonna be all about the NYX Total Control Drop Foundation. So I just got this yesterday from NYX inside SM Makati beauty section. So it costs 750 pesos or 100, so it's like $15. But I think in the US it retails for $14, so it's $1 more expensive here. Okay, so I've already prepped my face. I used a lot of moisturizer and sunscreen because I know this is a very matte foundation, a matte finish foundation. So I have dry and sensitive skin, so I really do need a lot of moisturizer for a matte foundation to work for me. So I put a lot of moisturizer in, so I hope that this works for me. I got the shade in medium olive, so this is the number 9 shade, and I'm gonna prime my sides of my nose where I have bigger pores with my CoverGirl True Magic Skin Perfector Balm. Okay, and because this is matte and I do prefer like very dewy cheeks, I'm also gonna put a bit of Catrice Prime and Fine Beautifying Primer. So my skin is prepped and primed. Should be ready for the foundation. I'm gonna use a beauty blender to apply it on my skin. It has a dropper. I'm gonna apply 2 drops first and then build it up to a medium coverage. It says for medium coverage you should use 3 drops. So a sheer coverage first and then building it up to a medium. So it's very watery, like very watery, and when you shake it, you can hear it, it's super watery. So I'm just gonna dab it on. I've seen lots of reviews and first impressions like using the NYX brush to apply it, but brushes don't really work well on my skin, so I'm just gonna avoid using a brush for this. So going into the beauty blender, okay, so it's a sheer coverage right now. I can still see my pigmentation showing through. I don't know if you can see it on camera because I do have like 2 bright lights here. And I also have redness around my nose. So far, I like this finish and this coverage. I'm really not a fan of like more than a medium coverage because, well, for my skin type, because my only skin problem is really dryness and hyperpigmentation. So it's quite easy to cover with just a medium coverage. So I don't go beyond like a medium coverage when I'm using foundation. But the 2 drops is really sheer. There's a lot of the redness on my nose still showing through. It only made my skin look a bit more even. And there are days that I like this kind of coverage. My everyday makeup look is really just a sheer coverage moisturizer or BB cream or foundation. So for an everyday look, this is fine for me. I'm still gonna build it up because I want to cover the redness on my nose. So I'm gonna add one more drop on my nose. So oh, well, that one drop did the trick. It covered it completely. Oh, sorry, not completely, but almost completely. There's still a bit of product left on the back of my hand. I'm gonna use that to cover a bit more of my pigmentation on my cheeks. And the rest of that for the other cheek. So this is the result of 3 drops of the Total Control Drop Foundation using a beauty blender. Do note that a beauty blender absorbs more product than a brush, well, than most brushes, I guess. So you'll probably need like 1 drop more or so when you use a beauty blender than when you use a brush or apply directly with your fingers, which is fine for me because it's the trade-off I get for the finish that I want. But you can still see a bit of my redness here from broken capillaries. But I really like the way it looks. I like this finish, and it wasn't as matte as I expected it would be, because when I saw on the other first impressions videos, it was very matte, and I was kind of afraid that a lot of my dry patches would be emphasized, but I guess the moisturizer and the moisturizing sunscreen did the trick here, and I can't see any dry patches or flaky skin showing through, so that's a good sign. Just for this video's sake, I'm gonna add 1 more drop and just see like how much coverage that will give me. I'm gonna add some more on my nose and my chin, on my cheeks. One drop does give a lot of product, in my opinion. That also depends on, I guess, the amount of foundation that you're used to using. But in the box, it says like 4 drops is full coverage, and I already used 4 drops, and it's definitely not full coverage at this stage. Maybe a full coverage would be like 6 drops or so, because it doesn't look nowhere near full coverage right now. I mean, there's like, you can still see my pigmentation. That's definitely not full coverage. I'm done applying that. So far, I really like the finish, and I love how when I build it, it never looks cakey because of how fluid it is. I love the consistency. I really love like super watery foundations because I love the way that they sit on the skin. It's very skin-like, and I'm already wearing 4 drops. So in the box, it says 4 drops is already full coverage, but it's definitely not full coverage. The 4 drops, I mean, it doesn't look full coverage at all. You can still see my skin showing through. You can still see my pigmentation, some of my veins here. But this is the finish that I like whenever I use foundation. So I'm not going to use any more foundation. But so far, I really like the finish. And it isn't as matte as I expected it to be, which is a good thing, because my skin doesn't work well with matte foundations because it's very dry. And I used a lot of moisturizer before I used this foundation because, again, I have dry skin. So I need to really prep it before I use like matte foundations. And I also used an illuminating primer on the tops of my cheekbones and on the sides of my forehead to make it a bit more dewy there. So this is it. This is how it looks. And as for me personally, I really like it, and the shade is, I think, a very good match with my natural skin tone. So this is medium olive. Olive undertone foundations are quite rare to find. This foundation has 24 shades, I think. So it's a wide shade range. I'm sure you can find your shade in that. I have a hard time finding my shade match in other foundations, and this one is the first that I saw that really had the olive in the name of the shade. So I grabbed the chance and bought this really for the shade, and also that for the control that it gives you in controlling your coverage. So far I really like this, but I'm gonna test this outside and I'm gonna check back with you later after I do my errands. So it's very hot here right now, so I'm probably gonna be sweating through this. Let's see how it will hold up later. Hi, so funny story. This morning when I was running my errands, it was around 36 degrees Celsius. That's in Celsius, not Fahrenheit, okay? It was 36 degrees Celsius, super hot and humid. And now, when I was about to go home, well, I was already walking home, suddenly strong rain poured down on me. And I got wet, my makeup got wet, everything got wet. My groceries got wet, my makeup, my new makeup got wet. Wow. The grocery was just a block away from our house, so it was a very short walk, but in the middle of that walk is when it decided to rain. So it's a full 6 hours. It was 1 p.m. when I stopped filming my first impressions video this afternoon, and now it's 7:15 p.m. so it's a full 6 hours of extreme weather conditions. So what's the verdict? Even after that sweat and that rain, I can still see the coverage on my pigmentation, but there's a bit of fading here in my chin, and I can already see some of the broken capillaries through that foundation. But there's no creasing whatsoever. There's no creasing around my nose, where I sometimes get creasing from my other foundations. There's no creasing near my the sides of my nose, where I also get a bit of creasing. And there's no creasing on my laugh lines, none on my chin, none on my cheeks, none near my eyebrows or my forehead or anywhere else. It still looks good. You can tell. The only thing that the rain really affected was my mascara. It's supposed to be waterproof, but guess what? It's smudged. I guess it's not that waterproof after all. And that's it. I would give it 5 lippies out of 5. I swear. I really love the finish. I love the longevity. That is for my skin type, dry, and I used a primer. And I applied with a beauty blender. I applied 4 drops, which is supposed to be full coverage, but it wasn't full coverage. It's medium coverage. So for full coverage, you probably use like 6 drops or more if you don't have much to cover on your face. But if you have like scars or spots or anything like more than slight pigmentation, I would say more than 6 drops probably. But all in all, for me personally, for the use that I intended for it, I love it. And as I said, I rated 5 lippies out of 5. So I'm so glad I bought it. And the shade match is also still just as good as it was when I put it on. There was no oxidation on me. So yeah, I love it. So thanks for watching. I hope to see you again next time. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to see more of my videos. See you next time. Bye!